Hello guys, so welcome to our next lesson for the coverage of our second examination. So lesson 6, so we are done on the major environmental factors and the kind of community that develops in an area and discuss what is human ecology and the succession. So on the third lesson, we will identify what are the major biomes. So when we say biomes, it is a group of plants and animals with similar characteristics for the world in which they live. So they represent in a number of continents in response to a shared physical climate. Biomes are distinct biological communities that have formed. So I forgot to I already shared screen. Yeah, I forgot to share screen my discussion in the lesson 7. So again, biomes is a group of plants and animal in a similar characteristics for the world in which they live. So for example, here in our country, in the Philippines, we only have two climates. So the rainy season and then this sunny season. Unlike other countries like in Europe or in America, they have this winter season, right? And some autumn or next is the biodiversity. It is the Earth's diversity and life variability. Biodiversity typically represents a measure of the genetic, the species, and the ecosystem variation. So we have here the first biome. So the tropical rainforest, I'm sorry, in the Central and the South American jungles, the tropical rainforest in the Western Hemisphere achieves its maximum growth. So the trees are very tall and they have a very varied species. One seldom sees two trees of the same genus growing near each other. So the foliage or the leaf is so thick it gets with little light to the forest floor, and many of the plants are evergreen and not deciduous forest. And the lushness of the tropical rainforest suggests a high net productivity, but this is illusory. So as you can see here in the picture, um, one of the common indoor plants, diba, on this, yeah, I am also fond with plants because of this quarantine or this COVID-19 pandemic. So I love collecting plants, indoor plants. So this is a plant called the Monstera plant that is common on some um, celebrities, diba, or they are having these indoor plants at their home. One of the this is original from the Central and South American jungles. So in the tropical rainforest, they are the tallest forest or plant in the ecosystem in some forests, and then they could reach up to how many meters? So they are very tall and they are also varied species. So they could live on some low humidity or very low temperature. So they can survive if this very hot environment. Next, tundra. The second biome is tundra. At high latitudes, rather, the taiga trees are surprised by the subarctic climate's ruggedness. They finally vanish and leave a land of bogs and lakes. The atmosphere is so cold in the winter that even the long summer days cannot thaw the permafrost under the layers of the soil's surface. So the sphagnum moss is a large variety of lichens and some grasses and rapidly growing annuals dominate the countryside during the short growing season. So this tundra is very common to those countries who have the winter season, right? Or very cold region. So we do not have this tundra, unlike the tropical rainforest. So we have here in the Philippines. But tundra, it happens more on the European countries. Next is the taiga, or the boreal forest that takes its name from the biome from Eurasia, so a country from Europe. It is a land which is dominated by conifers. So conifers is like a fern. Particularly spruce and fir, it is dotted with lakes, bogs, and marshes. Regardless of the slow rate of the decline, so the soils contain a large quantities of the organic matter. So those organic soil or those soil have this carbon or organic material, so uh, living form that decomposes. The total carbon deposited is estimated at 30 to 40% of the total on Earth. It is inhabited by the plant and some vertebrate animal species, which are more restricted than the temperate deciduous forest. So this taiga or this boreal forest is a biome that is common in Russia. It has a land which dominated these conifer plant trees. So they would survive on this environment or in this biome if they have a large quantities of carbon or this organic matter. So may also found in the North America that is such a traditional member that it has contributed to the name, the biome of the spruce moose. The fourth one is the temperate deciduous forest. This biome covers a large part of the Europe and the eastern half of the United States. It is typified by, for example, a hardwood trees, beech, how to pronounce it? Beech, maple tree, oak tree, hickory, they are deciduous. That is, they shed their leaves during fall. But here in our country, in the Philippines, we have this dipterocarp trees. So I think you're familiar with this trees or forest. So it is common uh, on my third year college days. So we went to Nabunturan. So in my subject in the terrestrial ecology. So we studied the terrestrial ecosystem on the forest on that Nabunturan Zoo, identified mga dipterocarp na mga trees or forests that they are very tall. So we test their soil, their humidity, their soil pH, or their potential phytogen. So it is quite fun, even though it is very hot on that part because it is afternoon. So mainit talaga siya na punta dyan sa outdoor, 'di ba? So sa kanang mga trekking or hiking, so yun siya, medyo bukid-bukid din dun siya sa Nabunturan. Another biomes created by this rainfall, these biomes are controlled by the amount and the seasonal distribution of the rainfall, not so much by the temperature. The prevailing winds blow in from the Pacific laden with moisture in the western half of the North America. It expands and cools each time this air rises from the western slopes of the coast ranges, the Sierras, and the Cascades, and finally the Rockies. So these forests could survive with this heavy rainfall. So they need a low humidity or a low temperature. So ano yung mga area na palaging umuulan. So that trees also or that forest would also love to survive. And this is called the temperate rainforest that incorporates the temperate atmosphere with a high annual rainfall. So palagi siyang umuulan yearly. So this is common in the continents of the North American Olympic Peninsular is an example of this biome, the temperate rainforest. Another one, there is an annual rainfall, of as much as 381 centimeter or 150 inches. Yields a lush conifer forest, sometimes known as the prairie or plain grasslands. So the annual grasslands precipitation averages 20 inches or approximately 51 centimeter per annum. So early in the growing season, a large proportion of this falls as the rain. So ito siya, this biome is grasslands, as you can see here in the picture, more on grasses, diba? So they would grow at least 381 centimeter. So the annual grassland precipitation is 20 inches per year. So fire, for example, is a factor that probably tips the balance from the forest to grassland. So just like for example, on what I have watched the documentary in the Eyewitness, so yung mga tubo-tubo or sugar cane, di ba? Mostly they are grasslands. So the farmer or the harvester, so they put a fire on it para lumiit na yun siya yung mga dahon or yung mga grasslands. So before that, after that one is they are now harvesting the sugar cane or yung mga tubo-tubo. So gumamit sila ng apoy, sinunog nila yung lahat ng grassland area para lumiit na rin yun siya or parang para luminis na to siya yung mga grasslands. It also balanced from the forest to grassland. In earlier times, also fires, they also set by lightning and also us humans. Next is the average rainfall is the CERT. The CERT is less than 10 inches or 25 centimeter, and in certain years may be zero. Due to the extreme dryness of the desert, its cultivation is restricted to plants such as the cactus, the sagebrush, and the mesquite, which have a variety of the adaptations to hold water for a long period. So, di ba, as what we have tackled about the adaptation, the saguaro tree or those cactus, they have this cell or they have a larger central vacuole that hold water to survive on this very dryness na environment or this biome. So after a rare soaking rain, so the fast-growing animals whose seeds can germinate, they grow to maturity and the flower and develop a new seed crop all within a few weeks. So makasurvive sila without those rain or those water with just this may conservation sila na cell on their own among those plants. Another one is we are done on the terrestrial biome. So next is the water biome. So we have two types, the freshwater and then the aquatic. So freshwater accounts for a small percentage of the Earth's total water supply. But there are a variety of freshwater biomes defined by the climatic, the physical, and the biotic characteristics because the speed of water flow and surrounding soil productivity give different attributes to these biomes. So for example, 'di ba, yung there is a speed of water flow yung sa mga lakes, 'di ba, or sa mga ilog, sa river and some wetlands. So parang overflowing yung water nila. Unlike sa marine or these aquatic biomes, it is distinguished by the physical factors such as the salinity or the water salt content and the geological characteristics. This will not associate with the latitude, mainly because of the 75% of the Earth's atmosphere is covered by the single marine biome, which is the ocean. So water is, so sa percentage sa ating kapaligiran, aside from the land or soil, the air, so water ang mas pinakamalaki, di ba? Na, which is comprises 75% of our atmosphere, unlike on land. And then there are some research studies that in the future, because of the melting ice on the Antarctica, so nagamelt naman yung mga ice because of what we are facing on the environmental issues, the climate change. So there are some cases that parang rarami pa yung mga tubig. So from 75, it could also be 95% ba or simbako because yun siya sa climate change. So rarami na yung parte ng tubig. So kaunti na lang yung land. So saan na tayo titira nito? So magiging mutant ba tayo na lalangoy na lang or we are living in an ocean or magsiswim na lang tayo? So yun siya. So these both freshwater biomes and the marine are layer stratified. So there are some photosynthetic organisms that require the sunshine or the sunlight, but they are limited to the shallow photic zone or yung nasa pinaka bottom part, but the upper portion of an aquatic ecosystem where light can reach. So doon yun siya pumupunta or kumukuha ng mga light, yung mga some microscopic organism from the ocean or freshwater, such as the phytoplankton, which is a plant, um, very small organism, and then the zooplankton or the animals plankton. So the benthic zone consists of the water from close to the surface to the deepest depths where little, if any, light reaches. The water can be shallow or deep. Such zones contain the various species, mainly based on the organism's temperature and the sunlight needs. And then the shallow waters tend to be dry and cooled in the deeper water. So yun siya, di ba? May mga organisms na kailangan yung mga cold-blooded um, fishes or invertebrate animals na nandun lang sila sa pinaka-deep ng ocean floor nakatira because it is cold region. Unlike yung nasa pinakaibabaw na parte ng ocean is mainit naman siya kasi yun nga nakadirekta yung sunlight is hindi sila pumupunta doon. Minsan lang pag gusto nila maarawan. So that's a wrap for our lesson 6. So thank you guys for listening and have a good day.